Let me show you what human men lack. Alien Princess whispered as she removed her armor. The first thing Commander Elias Ward noticed about the alien princess was not her beauty, but her silence. Princess Seelan of the Vierk's Dominion stood across the wide glass table of the diplomatic chamber, tall and still, her armor faintly glowing like liquid metal under the station lights. It covered her from neck to foot, smooth and seamless, shaped to her body like it had grown with her rather than been built. No weapons were visible, yet everyone in the room knew it was far more advanced than anything humans had. Elias sat straight in his chair, hands resting calmly on the table. He wore a simple Navy uniform, no medals, no enhancements, no exosuit, just cloth, skin, and patience. The translators hummed softly as Seelan finally spoke. "So this is the human representative," she said, her voice smooth and cool. "I expected more." Elias met her eyes without flinching. They were silver, sharp, and curious. "And I expected someone taller," he replied gently. "Expectations are strange things." A few human aides shifted nervously. The Vierk's observers behind Seelan did not move at all. The princess tilted her head. "You show no fear." "I feel it," Elias said. "I just don't let it speak for me." That answer seemed to amuse her, or perhaps confuse her. The Vierk's Dominion had ruled half the nearby systems for centuries. They did not conquer through open war unless necessary. They conquered through pressure, culture, and quiet certainty that resistance was useless. Humanity, new to faster-than-light travel, had been marked as compliant potential. Until today. "This meeting is a formality," Seelan continued. "Your species will benefit from Dominion guidance, protection, structure." "And in return?" Elias asked. She smiled slightly. "You will learn your place." The words were translated perfectly, but Elias heard what lay beneath them. Control, ownership, a future already decided. He leaned back a little. "Humans don't learn well that way." That was when Seelan did something no one expected. She raised one elegant hand and touched the side of her armor. With a soft, whispering sound, the living metal began to shift. Plates folded away like petals. Light dimmed. The armor peeled back from her shoulders, revealing smooth blue-silver skin beneath. A quiet breath moved through the room. Among the Vierk's armor was identity, status, superiority. To remove it before another species, especially a lesser one, was a statement. Seelan leaned forward slightly, her voice lowering as she spoke, meant only for Elias but heard by all. "Let me show you what human men lack." The words hung in the air, heavy with meaning. The human aides froze, expecting anger, embarrassment, or offense. Elias did none of those things. He looked at the armor as it continued to retract, then back at her face. His expression remained calm, thoughtful. "You misunderstand," he said quietly. "I don't feel challenged." For the first time, Seelan's smile faltered. "In my culture," she said, "this gesture unsettles rivals. It reminds them of their weakness." Elias nodded slowly. "In mine, it means you are willing to be seen." That answer struck harder than any insult. The station's neutral AI chimed softly. "Notice recorded. Voluntary removal of defensive augmentation recognized as non-hostile transparency." Seelan turned sharply. "What?" Elias allowed himself a small smile. "Human diplomatic law, you are no longer speaking from a position of dominance. You chose equality." The Vierk's observers murmured in low tones. This was not how these meetings went. Ever. Seelan straightened, her uncovered shoulders tense. "You twist meaning to suit yourself." "Of course," Elias replied. "That's something else humans are good at." Silence stretched between them, not hostile, curious. Seelan studied him now, really studied him. No enhanced muscles, no visible neural ports. No signs of fear pheromones, just a man who looked present. "You wear no armor," she said. "No biological upgrades, no mental shields. Why?" "Because I don't need them to know who I am," Elias said, "and because trust is harder to fake than strength." That answer unsettled her more than she expected. The meeting continued, but the balance had shifted. Seelan found herself asking questions instead of making declarations. How humans governed themselves, why their leaders were replaceable, why their soldiers questioned orders. Elias answered honestly, never boasting, never apologizing. When the session ended, the observers filed out in silence. Seelan remained behind. "You are different from the others," she said. "So are you," Elias replied. She looked down at her partially retracted armor, then back at him. "Today was meant to show you what your kind lacks." "And instead," he asked. She did not answer right away. Outside the chamber, stars drifted slowly past the glass, ancient and indifferent. Instead of leaving, Seelan turned and deactivated the rest of her armor. It folded away completely, leaving it stored within itself, dormant. The AI chimed again. Transparency confirmed. Seelan ignored it. Perhaps, she said softly, I am beginning to see what humans carry instead. Elias rose from his chair, offering no bow, no dominance gesture, just respect. And perhaps, he said, this is where real negotiations begin. She watched him walk toward the exit, unarmored and unafraid. For the first time in her life, Princess Seelan felt something unfamiliar, uncertainty, and interest. Princess Seelan did not sleep that cycle. The guest chamber given to her on the human station was quiet, almost too quiet. No guards stood outside. No monitoring drones floated near the ceiling. The walls did not glow with status symbols or rank markers. Everything was plain, calm, and open. It made her uneasy. She sat near the wide window, looking at the stars. Her armor rested in its dormant form beside her, folded like a silent shadow. For the first time since her coming of age, she was not wearing it. Among her people, that would have been unthinkable. Her thoughts kept returning to the human commander. Elias Ward. He had not tried to impress her. He had not bowed, challenged, or flirted. He had not reacted the way Vierk's males or rivals would have. He had simply listened. And somehow that had shaken her more than any show of power. The next cycle, the Dominion Council requested a private channel with her. Their images filled the air, tall figures wrapped in glowing armor, voices sharp with controlled anger. You compromised your position, one of them said. You removed your armor. I chose transparency, Seelan replied evenly. You chose weakness. No, she said. I chose observation. They dismissed her explanation. Humans, they insisted, were fragile creatures, short-lived. Emotion-driven, useful but not equal. The council ordered her to conclude negotiations quickly and secure compliance. When the channel closed, Seelan remained still for a long time. Later that cycle, she requested another meeting with Elias. This time they met in a public garden section of the station. Real plants grew there, not holograms. Humans walked freely around them, laughing, talking, sharing food. No one stared at Seelan with fear. Some looked curious, some smiled politely. Then they went on with their lives. Elias arrived alone. You chose a strange place for serious talks, Seelan said. Elias looked around. Serious things don't always need serious rooms. They walked slowly along a stone path. Artificial sunlight warmed the air. Your council is displeased, Elias said. They always are when control slips, she answered. He nodded. You don't sound surprised. I am beginning to understand something, she said. Your species lacks many things. People keep telling us that, Elias replied calmly. You lack natural weapons, you lack rigid hierarchy, you lack obedience to tradition. And yet, he asked, and yet you stand here without armor, she said, stopping to face him. And you are not afraid. Elias thought for a moment. Fear doesn't disappear when you ignore it. It just stops deciding for you. Seelan studied his face. Humans showed emotion openly. There were no plates to hide behind, no symbols to explain meaning, just expression. Among my people, she said, we wear armor so we never forget who we are supposed to be. And who is that? Elias asked. Superior, she answered. Unchanging, certain. They resumed walking. And if someone doesn't feel that way, he asked. Then they hide it, she said quietly. That was the moment she realized the truth. Her armor had never been about strength. It had been about fear. The council called again later that day, demanding progress. Seelan asked for more time. They refused. They reminded her that she was replaceable. That word stayed with her. Replaceable. That night she walked the station alone. She watched humans repair machines, teach children, argue, apologize, and forgive. Their leaders were criticized openly. Their mistakes were recorded, not erased. Their history was full of failure and survival. They did not pretend to be perfect. The final negotiation session began the next cycle. The council watched. Human representatives sat calmly. No weapons, no threats, just presence. Seelan stood at the center. The Dominion withdraws its integration demand, she said. Silence crashed through the chamber. The council protested. The humans did not celebrate. They waited. Humanity cannot be controlled by fear, Seelan continued. They lack what we rely on, and because of that, our methods fail. Elias felt something tighten in his chest, not pride, but recognition. The council cut the channel. Seelan turned to the humans. My position is no longer secure. You have asylum, Elias said immediately. She looked at him, surprised. You would accept me after all this? You chose honesty, he said. That matters to us. Later, as the station drifted through space, Seelan stored her armor for the last time. Not as a symbol, not as an identity, just as a tool she no longer needed. She stood beside Elias at the observation window. When I whispered those words, she said softly, I believed humans lacked dominance. And now, he asked. Now I see you lack the need to hide behind it, she said. Below them, Earth turned slowly blue and alive. For the first time, Seelan felt something she had never been taught to value. Freedom. And she chose it. Princess Seelan's status changed quietly. There was no ceremony, no announcement across the stars. One cycle she was a representative of the Vierk's dominion. The next she was simply a guest of humanity. That silence felt heavier than any punishment. She expected confinement, rules, guards. Instead, she was given choice. A small living space overlooking Earth, access to public areas, and something she had never truly experienced before, time that belonged only to her. At first, she did not know what to do with it. On her home worlds, every moment had purpose decided by rank. Even rest was scheduled. Here, humans woke when they wished, argued about priorities, changed plans without fear of disgrace. Seelan watched it all like a visitor inside an unfamiliar dream. Elias met her often, not as a negotiator now, but as a guide of sorts. He did not push her to decide her future. He answered questions when she asked them and remained silent when she needed space. One cycle, they stood on a balcony overlooking a human city at night. Lights spread across the surface like scattered stars. You built all this knowing it could fail, Seelan said. Elias nodded. Most things worth building can. That uncertainty would break my people, she said. Maybe, he replied, or maybe it would change them. She considered that in silence. The Dominion did not stay quiet for long. Other species watched closely. News spread that a Vierk's princess had removed her armor, rejected domination, and chosen asylum among humans. For some empires, it was a warning. For others, a question. Could power exist without fear? Delegations arrived, not armies, observers. They came expecting human weakness. They found cooperation instead. Humans argued openly in meetings, disagreed, revised plans. No single voice ruled. Decisions took time, but once made, they were shared, not enforced. Seelan sat in on many of these sessions. At first, she said nothing. Later, she spoke carefully, then honestly. She was surprised to find that humans did not treat her words as commands or threats. They treated them as ideas. For the first time, her value did not come from rank. It came from understanding. One day, Elias asked her a simple question. What do you want to do next? The question froze her. I do not know, she admitted. That's allowed, he said. On her world, not knowing was failure. Here, it was a beginning. She spent time with human historians, learning how their species had survived disasters without unity of form or thought. Wars ended not because one side vanished, but because exhaustion forced reflection. Progress came slowly, painfully, but it came. She learned that humans had once believed strength meant domination too. And then they learned the cost. The Dominion sent a final message. Return, resume armor, resume duty, or be declared lost. Seelan stood alone with her armor before her. It still responded to her presence, ready to wrap around her body, ready to make her princess again. She touched it and felt nothing. No pride, no comfort, only distance. When she declined the summons, the Dominion erased her from their records. The news reached her quietly. She expected grief. What she felt instead was relief. Humans did not erase their failures. They learned from them. They carried loss openly, not as shame, but as memory. Elias found her later that day. I am no longer anyone, she said. He shook his head. You're someone who chose. That mattered more than any title. In time, Seelan became something new, a bridge. She worked with human diplomats not as a symbol but as a translator of thought. She explained Vierk's logic, their fears, their pride. She explained humanity too, how humans would resist control but respond to respect. Some negotiations failed, some succeeded, but none ended in silence anymore. Other species began to change how they spoke to humans. Less command, more conversation. It confused the old powers. It frightened them. One evening, Seelan returned to the observation window where everything had first shifted. Earth rotated slowly below. I once believed human men lacked dominance, she said softly. And now, Elias asked. Now I see you lack the need to prove it, she replied. You build instead. Elias smiled faintly. It's not always clean or fast. But it lasts, she said. Below them the planet glowed, scarred, imperfect, alive. Seelan did not reclaim her armor. She did not reclaim her title. She reclaimed herself. And across the stars, empires quietly took note. Humanity had not conquered anything. And that was exactly why they could not be ignored. Change did not arrive like a storm. It came slowly, like light spreading at the edge of a long night. Seelan noticed it first in the small things. The way visiting diplomats paused before speaking to humans, as if choosing words more carefully. The way meetings no longer began with demands, but with questions. The way silence was no longer treated as weakness. She had become used to walking the human station without armor, without guards, without the weight of expectation pressing against her back. At first, that freedom had felt like falling. Now it felt like standing on solid ground. She worked longer cycles than before, not because she was ordered to, but because she wanted to. Human diplomats often disagreed with her. Some trusted her, some did not. None feared her. That, more than anything, told her she was truly no longer Vierks. One cycle, an unfamiliar delegation arrived from a minor coalition near Dominion space. Their species was small, their technology modest, their history filled with compromises made to survive stronger neighbors. They requested Seelan by name. When she entered the chamber, they bowed slightly, unsure of the correct human custom. "You chose humanity," their lead speaker said. "We want to understand why." Seelan did not answer immediately. She remembered who she had been when she first arrived, certain, armored. "Untouchable, I did not choose humans because they were strong," she said. "I chose them because they were honest about being weak." The words surprised even her. The delegation listened closely. "They fail," she continued. "They argue, they make mistakes. But they do not pretend otherwise. That makes cooperation possible." That meeting ended without treaties or declarations. It ended with shared understanding. Later, Elias walked with her through the station's long corridor, where windows showed deep space like a dark ocean. "You're becoming a problem," he said lightly. "For who?" she asked. "For anyone who believes power must look a certain way." She smiled faintly. That would have pleased the old version of herself. Now it simply felt true. News arrived weeks later that the Vierks Dominion was changing. Not openly, not officially, but observers reported delays in enforcement, negotiators listening longer. Armor removed more often during talks. Small changes, but noticeable. Seelan read the reports in silence. "They're watching," Elias said. "Yes," she replied, "and they are afraid." "Of humans? Of becoming unnecessary," she said. Among humans, leadership rotated. Power was shared, argued over, challenged. Among the Vierks, authority had always been permanent. To question it was to risk erasure. She understood now why the council had called her replaceable. They had been speaking from fear. One cycle, Elias invited her to attend a remembrance event. Humans gathered to honor losses from their past, not victories, not conquests, but failures. Names were read, stories shared, regrets spoken aloud. Seelan stood among them listening, no armor, no shame. She felt something tighten inside her chest, then release. Afterward, she asked Elias why humans remembered pain so openly. "So we don't repeat it," he said, "and so we don't lie to ourselves." That night, she dreamed without symbols. No rank, no armor, just herself walking freely beneath an open sky. The next major test came unexpectedly. A trade dispute between two non-human powers escalated into threats. Both demanded humanity choose a side. Both assumed humans would fold under pressure. Instead, humans invited both parties to the same table. Seelan observed quietly as voices rose, then settled. No threats were answered with threats. No displays of force were matched. Humans spoke of shared loss, of what escalation would cost everyone involved. It took time, but the conflict ended without submission. Afterward, one of the alien delegates asked Seelan a question that stayed with her. "Why do humans speak as if the future belongs to everyone?" She answered without hesitation. "Because they know it doesn't belong to anyone." As cycles passed, Seelan realized she no longer thought of herself as between worlds. She was of one. Humanity did not ask her to become human. They did not ask her to abandon her past. They allowed her to carry it honestly. That was their quiet power. One evening, standing once more by the observation window, Seelan activated her armor for the first time in many cycles. It responded instantly, wrapping around her form, sealing, glowing. She looked at her reflection. Princess, weapon, symbol, she felt nothing. She deactivated it again and stored it away. Later, when asked why she still kept it, she answered simply, "To remember who I am not." Elias joined her at the window. "You've changed a lot," he said. "So have you," she replied. He smiled. "That's usually how it works." Below them, Earth turned, patient and scarred and alive. Far beyond it, empires adjusted their plans. Some resisted, some adapted. None could ignore humanity anymore, not because humans demanded attention, but because they offered something rarer than dominance. A future built together. Seelin watched the stars and understood fully at last what she had whispered long ago. Humans did lack many things, and that was why they endured.